Hello, everyone. My name is Fatima Ezzahraa Haiah, and this is my CS50 final project about the Microsoft SharePoint remote code execution vulnerability discovered in 2025. In this presentation, I will explain what happened, why this vulnerability was considered dangerous, how attackers could exploit it, and the security measures that can help protect systems from similar attacks. This incident is associated with CVE-202-5-53770, a critical vulnerability affecting Microsoft SharePoint servers. It was discovered in July 2025 and became a major cybersecurity concern because it could allow attackers to execute malicious code remotely on vulnerable systems. Throughout this project, I will present the technical details of the vulnerability, its potential impact, and the important security lessons that can be learned from this incident. In July 2025, security researchers discovered a critical vulnerability in Microsoft SharePoint Server. The vulnerability allowed attackers to execute malicious code remotely without physical access to the server. Many organizations around the world were at risk because SharePoint is widely used to store important business data. After the attacks were discovered, Microsoft quickly released emergency security updates and advised organizations to install them as soon as possible. Microsoft SharePoint is a collaboration platform developed by Microsoft that allows businesses and organizations to manage, store, and share information in a centralized environment. It is widely used around the world because it helps teams collaborate, organize documents, create internal websites, and improve communication between employees. SharePoint can be integrated with other Microsoft services and is often used by large companies and institutions to manage important files and business processes. Since SharePoint may contain sensitive and valuable information, security is a major concern. A vulnerability affecting SharePoint servers can potentially expose important data or allow attackers to compromise an organization's systems. Understanding the role of SharePoint helps us better understand the importance of protecting it against cyber threats. In July 2025, a critical security vulnerability was discovered in Microsoft SharePoint Server. The vulnerability, identified as CVE-202-5-53770, was a remote code execution vulnerability, which means that attackers could potentially execute malicious code on affected systems from a remote location. This type of vulnerability is considered very dangerous because it can allow attackers to gain unauthorized access and compromise important services. Organizations using vulnerable SharePoint servers around the world became potential targets. To reduce the risk and protect users, Microsoft released emergency security updates and recommended that organizations apply the necessary patches as quickly as possible. The attack exploited a remote code execution, or RCE, vulnerability in Microsoft SharePoint Server. First, the attackers sent specially crafted malicious requests to a vulnerable SharePoint server. Because of the security flaw, the server processed these requests without proper validation. As a result, the server executed unauthorized code chosen by the attackers. This allowed them to gain control of the affected system and perform malicious actions. Once attackers obtained access, they could steal sensitive information, install malware, modify files, or use the compromised server to launch additional attacks. This incident shows why it is essential to keep systems updated and quickly apply security patches to prevent attackers from exploiting known vulnerabilities. The impact of this attack was very serious for affected organizations. If attackers successfully exploited the vulnerability, they could steal sensitive information such as confidential documents, employee records, and business data. They could also gain control of vulnerable SharePoint servers and use them to perform additional malicious activities. In many cases, these attacks disrupted normal business operations, causing downtime and reducing productivity. Organizations also faced financial losses due to incident response, system recovery, and security improvements. Beyond the financial impact, companies risked losing the trust of their customers and partners because of potential data breaches. This incident demonstrates how a single critical vulnerability can have significant technical, financial, and reputational consequences. After the vulnerability was discovered, Microsoft acted quickly to reduce the risk for affected organizations and protect their systems from further attacks. The company released emergency security updates to fix the vulnerability and stop attackers from exploiting it. Microsoft also published detailed security guidance explaining how the attack worked, which versions of SharePoint were affected, and the steps administrators should take immediately. Microsoft strongly recommended installing the security patches without delay because unpatched servers remained vulnerable to exploitation. In addition, the company advised organizations to monitor their SharePoint environments for unusual activity, review system logs, and investigate any signs of compromise. Finally, Microsoft encouraged organizations to follow cybersecurity best practices, including keeping software up to date, limiting administrative privileges, performing regular backups, and maintaining continuous security monitoring. These measures help reduce the risk of similar attacks in the future. This incident is closely connected to several important concepts that I learned in the CS50 Cybersecurity course. First, it highlights the importance of software security. Even trusted applications such as Microsoft SharePoint can contain vulnerabilities that attackers may exploit if they are not properly secured. Second, this case is an example of a remote code execution, or RCE, vulnerability, one of the most dangerous types of security flaws because it allows attackers to execute unauthorized code on a remote system. The incident also demonstrates the importance of vulnerability management. Organizations must regularly identify, assess, and fix security weaknesses before they can be exploited. Finally, it emphasizes the value of security updates, patch management, and continuous monitoring. These practices are essential for protecting organizational systems, reducing cyber risks, and maintaining the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of important information. Based on this incident, there are several important recommendations that can help organizations improve their cybersecurity. First, security updates should always be installed as soon as they become available, because delays can leave systems exposed to known vulnerabilities. Second, organizations should continuously monitor their systems and review security logs to detect suspicious activity as early as possible. Using strong authentication, especially multi-factor authentication, or MFA, provides an additional layer of protection against unauthorized access. It is also essential to back up important data regularly so that information can be recovered if a cyber attack occurs. Finally, employees should receive regular cybersecurity training to recognize threats such as phishing, follow security policies, and report suspicious activities. Combining secure software, regular updates, strong authentication, backups, and user awareness creates a much stronger security posture against future attacks. In conclusion, the Microsoft SharePoint vulnerability demonstrates how a single security flaw can have serious consequences for organizations around the world. This incident reminds us that cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Developers, system administrators, security teams, and employees all play an important role in protecting information and reducing cyber risks. Organizations should apply security patches as quickly as possible, stay informed about newly discovered threats, and always follow cybersecurity best practices. By maintaining secure systems, monitoring for suspicious activity, and promoting security awareness, we can significantly reduce the risk of future cyber attacks. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation has helped you better understand the importance of vulnerability management and cybersecurity in today's digital world.